If you move to the UK, two things are a given. The first thing is you will watch more football than you have ever watched in your entire life. The second one is that if you live outside a big city, you will need a car. You will need a car, especially if you have a family or you're planning to have a family, and especially if you plan on traveling. Because while London is really well connected by itself, if you plan on going anywhere outside London, it can be quite a challenge. For instance, if you want to go from London to another place, it will take you from London to the center of that town or little village by either train or bus, and then you're on your own. If you're lucky, you will get a bus from the train center to take you wherever you need to go, or you'll have to take a taxi, and that can get quite expensive. Or if you want to go to school like we do and the school is like 2 miles away, taking a taxi every day is really expensive, and dragging a 5-year-old child in the rain or in the snow can be quite a challenge. Bottom line, you need a car. The fact is that you can't buy a car on a whimsy, and either you're going to spend a ton of money buying a car, or it's going to be an inexpensive affair, depending on some of the crucial decisions that you make. And it's a decision you're going to have to live with for quite a while. So the car you need to buy is going to have to be A, affordable, and B, reliable. Now, the reason I put so much emphasis on the cost is because buying a car can be an expensive affair. And like you know, the cost of living in the UK is continuously rising. So you can probably make a decision to buy a car and not buy it at an outrageous amount and save in the process while you're going, or spend a ton. In today's video, we'll be talking about how you can get that car that you want at an affordable rate and how you can save along the way. With that, I'm Ashika, and let's dive in. Now, when it comes to buying a car in the UK, there are two ways you can go about it. You can buy a new car or you can buy a pre-owned car. But before you actually get to buying a car, you'd first need to have a basic idea on what kind of brands you're looking at. Now, there will be some brands that you were familiar with back from your home country. There might be some brands that you've never heard about in the past that are available in the UK and are pretty great cars. So ideally, the way you'd go about it is first you'd Google or you check on YouTube best sedans under XYZ cost, or best hatchbacks for families, best SUVs for families. Either way, you need to have a starting point, and this is a great place to start. Another point you might want to address right at this point is whether you want to buy the car outright by paying the entire amount in a lump sum, or if you want to buy it with financing, which basically means you buy the car in installments. It's important to figure this out, especially because if you're coming from outside the country, it's very likely that you don't have a 3-year credit history, which is something that's really important when it comes to opting for financing with a lot of dealerships. There are certain car brands that are a lot more accommodating than others. So when we were initially checking for which brands did provide financing for expats like us, we figured out that BMW, Skoda, and Seat and Volkswagen were a lot more accommodating than others and were willing to offer financing to expats without a 3-year history. I think it's also important you check this at your end and not take this as a given, because it might change from dealership to dealership. Now, when it comes to buying a new car, you can either buy a new car directly from the brand dealership, or you can visit the dealerships that have multiple brands listed under them and they're all new cars. The way I would suggest you go about it if you have no idea how much things cost is you head over to Auto Trader and head over to the section which lists out new cars, and you start checking what kind of cars are available using the filters. Let me give you a quick idea of approximately how much new cars cost in the UK. These are some of the most popular cars in the UK. A Ford Fiesta starts at £16,385. A Volkswagen Golf starts from £20,280, and so forth. Now, if you are looking at buying a pre-owned car instead of a new car, you are in luck, because unlike a lot of other countries, the pre-owned market is very robust in the UK, which means you have a lot of options available, and most often those options are priced very well. And the cars are in great shape. You can either buy a pre-owned car from its previous owner, or you can buy one from a dealership. Now, when we came to the UK, we decided to go with a pre-owned car, and we decided to buy one from the dealership, which was the BMW dealership, instead of a private owner, because of one crucial reason. In the UK, it is not necessary for the owner to share previous accident history of the car with you. And considering that we were not from the country, we didn't know too much about the cars over here, we didn't want to take that risk, and also because of one more very important reason. We wanted to buy the car on financing, which wouldn't be possible if we went through the owner directly, right? The car would have been cheaper had we bought it directly from the owner than the dealership, but that was just a risk we didn't want to take. Again, when it comes to buying a pre-owned car from a dealership, either you can go with the brand's dealership like a BMW dealership, or you can go with a dealership that has multiple cars. If you don't know where to start again, head over to Auto Trader and visit the used car, the pre-owned cars section, and you'll get listings from both owners and from dealerships. Let's look at some of the prices of pre-owned cars in the UK. But is this the only cost that comes into question when you're buying a car in the UK? Of course not. What most people forget is that it's not just the price of the car that you buy the car at, it's also a host of other costs that then add up to the actual total cost of the car or maintaining the car in the UK. One of them is insurance. If you have to have your car out on the road, a public road, your car needs to be insured. It is actually illegal for you to drive in the UK without insurance. Even if that means driving from the dealership to your house, it's illegal to drive that distance as well without insurance. Now, the challenge you might face when it comes to insurance in the UK is that you might get quoted at outrageously high rates compared to UK drivers, especially if you are an overseas driver or an expat driver just moving to the UK. Now, if you ask me, a real lifesaver here is this brand called Marshmallow, which focuses on providing insurance to expats at a lot more reasonable rates than others. It's a very interesting story that the founders realized that a friend of theirs was being quoted outrageous rates for insurance simply because he was an expat driver, and that's what kind of gave them the idea to start this company. And that's something I completely resonate with, because if you have been following me from the past, you realize I have started this channel with a very similar ideology. Now, the absolute brilliant part about Marshmallow is that they accept proof for no claims driving in any country, which is called no claims bonus or discount. And they accept proof from any insurer, no translation needed. Another really helpful point is that they also count all the years you've been driving and not just the years that you've been driving in the UK. Now, both these things can have big discounts attached for expats and migrants. They also cover licenses from most countries for up to 12 months. See, here's the thing. When you move to the UK, most insurers don't accept no claims discount from other countries, which puts expats or migrants at a huge disadvantage. But Marshmallow does, and it could save you around £230 per year on insurance, which puts it at a huge advantage. And the fact that it's an award-winning brand doesn't hurt either. And if it sounds too good to be true and you don't want to take my word for it, check out the thousands of Trustpilot reviews that say the same thing. With Marshmallow, you can also add breakdown cover to your policy, which provides you with roadside assistance if your car breaks down somewhere. And you can add a courtesy car to your cover too, meaning you get a temporary car while yours is being fixed. And you get the option of spreading out your insurance into monthly payment installments, which can save you quite a bit when you've just moved to the UK and bought a car and you don't want too many big spends. Now, if you'd like to know more about this insurance, head over to this link, and I have linked it in the description below as well, where I talk about the challenges of moving to the UK, insurance being one of them. Now, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and remember to click on the bell icon for notifications. The next thing you will need before being able to drive in the UK on the road is road tax, and again, it is illegal to drive without road tax in the UK. The rate for most cars is £180, and if you have an alternately fueled vehicle, then you get a discount of £10, that's about £170. But if your car costs more than £40,000, you will pay £570 per year as road tax. Next, to drive your car in the UK, you will need an MOT. During your car's MOT, it will be checked for the following, which could impact the safety and running of the cars, whether it's a minor fault or a major fault: exhausts, fumes and emissions, tires and wheels, seat belts, steering and suspension, lamps and reflectors, electrical equipment, and brakes. Now, remember, new cars do not need an MOT for the first 3 years. If you are buying a pre-owned car from a dealership, you don't have to worry because they would have taken care of the MOT for you. But remember that if you are buying it from a private individual, you need to check the record of the MOT because it may or may not have been done, and it is illegal for you to drive on the road with that car without the MOT being done. Now, the average cost of an MOT and all the services and repairs for cars in the UK is about £613. Now, I'm not going to cover the cost of fuel because that keeps changing, but I will give you an idea. The average distance travelled per year per petrol car was 6,300 miles, and the average annual cost of fuel for a petrol car was £1,171. In the case of diesel, the average distance travelled per year per car was 9,400 miles, and the average annual cost of fuel for a car with diesel was £1,661. Now, if you want more details on how much it would cost to own different models of cars in the UK, I suggest you check this link, which I will again link at the bottom. and it will give you the cost for different models of cars, so you get a much more accurate picture, especially if you're trying to debate between which car to buy. Now, apart from this, there's obviously a lot more costs involved when it comes to learning how to drive a car in the UK. You're probably thinking you don't need to learn how to drive a car in the UK, especially if you have been driving in another country all of these years. Now, this doesn't hold good for all countries because some countries do allow you to convert your license when you come to the UK, but if you come from India like I do, you will be allowed to drive in the UK for up to 1 year, after which your Indian license will expire in the UK, and you will have to get a UK license to continue driving in the UK. And to get a license, you have to take a test. To take a test, you need to take driving classes, and those don't come cheap or easy. Now, if you'd like to know more about this, watch this video.